Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on the first issue of Monkey Prince DC Comic Review. Now, as you know, Monkey Prince is meant to be based on the old Chinese folklore story Journey to the West, which would adapt from Dragon Ball Z, as well as Monkey King Hero is Back, as well as the Lego series that has the same actor who voiced Goku in it. So here it's DC's attempt on doing a story based on the old Chinese folklore. And in my personal thoughts, I think it's an interesting idea, because unlike Marvel, DC are still keeping things fresh and not really trying to return things to the status quo too much. And the cover has the Monkey Prince with Shifu, and let's go on the story. It starts off how a young boy known as Marcus is being tucked into bed by his parents, ends up hearing a thud saying, "Mom, Dad, that rapidly expanding air sound, it's like it's stomping around our roof." And of course, sees something that's going on, and it's Batman confronting Marcus's parents, and he's like, "Mom, Dad, go back to your room, son. There's a child in the house." And of course, there's more truths about Marcus's parents than there are, and because of numerous incidents, had to travel around other towns and cities to get away from Batman. And of course, we see how he's afraid of the water ever since the incident. And we see a kid called Rez saying, "You know what always helps the Reds relax? A dip in the pool!" And of course, he ends up getting almost drowned. And we see how the janitor, Mr. Chow, reassures him and comes up with a help to come up with his trauma. And we end up meeting Marcus's mum, who finds out what happened, and of course knows that he got bullied by Rez and his cronies. And of course, this is where she has a go at them. Now, one, I wouldn't really call her a Karen. She's just a kind of concerned and kind of caring mum who just saw her kid get picked around at. Turns out they're working for the Penguin and using a special device for their next sinister plot. And they're like, "Gold place, oh, that's an all-time high of Mr. Shinjo-shan. The time is now." "But the boss," "It's fine, Laura. Let it go. Let us begin." And of course, something that happens leaves the Penguin traumatized from the event and shoots down the guy he was hostaging. And we see how Mr. Cho helps Marcus with his problem and decides to show him to the pool to show him what to do. And of course, he thinks he's crazy in that and decides to leave. We see how Marcus is looking through all his various shoes, as he hates being barefoot indoors ever since the incident. And the mum says, "Smoking? What now, Mum? Why would you think..." "Oh no." And of course tries to get rid of the smoke in that. And we see as well how Marcus is trying to pay attention in class, meets a young girl known as Kayla, but something happens, he has a tail. And we see how Marcus gets picked around by Rez and his crew, who basically say, "Saw you running around the hall, new kid. Thought we'd come and say hi. Yeah, you know that Rez is a nice guy, 'cause a nice guy to everyone, even the freaks. But then your right Karen of a mommy got us detention for a leak, so no more Mr. Nice Guy." Now, like I said, not a Karen, just a concerned mum. And of course, end up beating the crap out of. We see how he stays by the pool. We see how Kayla tries to talk with him, but decides to dip into the pool, and ends up in a magical world, which turns out the janitor is the mystical creature Shifu, and his dad is actually the Monkey King, and ends up becoming the superhero, the Monkey Prince. And of course, finds out he can use a magical cloud, kind of like Nimbus from Dragon Ball Z, and tries to take on Rez and his cronies. We see Damian contacting Batman right away, and given the fact Damian is the son of Batman, We see how he takes on the bullies and gets a little reckless with his abilities. We see how they try to take on Marcus and that, but of course Batman shows up to try and stop him, saying, "Step away from the child now!" Throws the Batarang, of course ends up missing. That cuts off his head. And you can kind of tell Batman missing was a simple mistake, and given the fact he was kind of aimed for the staff, kind of implied he wasn't really paying attention and just focused to try and aim something which failed. And this is the story. So I think the first issue of Monkey Prince is definitely a good story. I wouldn't call it a woke story because it's just a simple premise. A kid feels like an outsider, turns out to be related to an ancient god, and of course ends up kind of taking on the mantle that's given to him. I think it's kind of like looking at the Superman story where Superman's son takes over, and I don't think it's trying to be woke. Again, the reason why Clark's son is trying to help protesting about global warming and ice caps is because Jonathan knows he can't solve every problem known to man, and the heroes can't solve people's problems daily, and no, they can't always be everywhere. So I think the story still deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.